When there are moments of unfulfilled attachment needs, parts of the self are no longer able to associate with who they truly are. Because parts of the self are unconditional love. Love is the true identity of the self. And so when there are moments of unfulfilled attachment needs, then these parts of the self are no longer able to associate with who they actually are. And then there's independent activity throughout parts of the self, an independent or unique activity throughout regions of body-mind wiring. And this can create some unique experiences, whether that's an implicit health challenge or simply a reduction in the quality and potency of life, and reduced presence, for example, difficulty experiencing the power of the now, etc. And so it's important to welcome these parts of the self home to each other and to a brand new present moment, and to help these aspects of self-essence reassociate with unconditional love and reassociate with each other. And this can be tricky because we don't want to look at experiences exclusively, because parts of the self are not the experiences. And the more we look at past experiences, the more we activate and grow that neural wiring. Okay, so if there's like a past experience that was like not so good, and you're like, I want to process it and transmute it and help those parts of the self to not be stuck and trapped there anymore, and to reassociate these parts of the self with love and with all the other self aspects, then looking at that past experience will just activate and grow that neural wiring, unless done in a very specific way where you do effectively rewrite and transmute it. But more often than not, when we look at that experience, the wiring that holds that information gets bigger, and the parts of the self stay in that past experience or stay in that neural wiring. And so there are ways to look at past experiences and effectively transmute and rewrite them. But what we're actually trying to accomplish is creating a felt sense of attachment need fulfillment for those parts of the self who didn't experience that before, and to help these parts of the self reassociate with an identity of love, because it is the truth of who parts are. Self aspects are love. They are unconditional love. These parts of the self are love's embodiment, love's champion, love's presence, and love's witness. The source of love is the true self. And throughout life, the self maybe didn't get to know that, because there were moments of unfulfilled attachment needs where parts didn't feel seen and loved, parts didn't feel safe and supported, parts didn't feel respected and embraced and allowed to be who they were. And so instead of looking at those past experiences, what's actually more important is creating a felt sense of attachment need fulfillment right here, right now, for the parts of the self who are flowing through the body-mind right here, right now. And to help these parts of the self reassociate with the self, reassociate with other self aspects, reassociate with the body, reassociate with the face, reassociate with the voice, reassociate with the physical human form, reassociate with the essence of the self independent of the human form also. And so it really just comes down to creating a felt experience of unconditional love. Unconditional love, a love that is not conditional, a love that is not dependent, a love that doesn't say if XYZ, then you'll get to experience love, a love that is pure and profound and priceless and perfect and potent and powerful. And when parts of the self get to experience that, then those past experiences dissolve on their own. And the energetic wiring of the body-mind carrying that information does get rewritten in a very effective way that will help to shapeshift, transform, and evolve internal navigation and regulation of the body-mind. So the true identity of the self is love. The true identity of the self is love. But past moments of unfulfilled attachment needs reduce the ability for the self to associate with itself as love. And so then parts of the self aren't connected with each other. Parts of the self aren't oriented with the self. Parts of the self are experiencing disruptions in the body-mind. There's lots of different things that can happen. There might be a complete disassociation or dissociation, for example. And it might be really, really subtle and not obvious, and you didn't even know that there were these parts of you missing, because you go about life and you do your thing and things seem okay, and it is what it is, and it's cool and it's groovy. But so often there are parts of the self who are not fully welcomed home yet. And it's hard to know that from a surface level until you do the deeper inner work play. The inner healing work and shadow work and light work is really just a play of love, is what it is. All that inner work is really just a play of love. And so by creating a felt sense of attachment need fulfillment for these parts of ourselves, we can start to help the self reassociate with itself as love and welcome home these parts of the self who never got to experience unconditional love. And when that happens, everything changes. And in those moments of feeling unconditional love inside of you, it overpowers anything and everything else. And anything that's ever felt like less than love begins to dissolve from awareness. And life can expand and grow more beautiful and wondrous from there. And you can explore more about some of these ideas in social self-engagement practices, Mirrorthon journeys, etc. You can explore more about all my offerings in the video description below. Dare to choose an identity of love and see how it begins to dissolve any barrier to love as you start to welcome home these parts of yourself who deserve love and maybe never got to experience it before, but they can now because you're choosing it.